Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the grand finals of the Rocket League Ireland 2v2 solo standard tournament. I am Ejam, joined with Jacko to bring you the action. It is Cans and Viable against Shallow and Joe. Four outstanding players. Viable, of course, was known for winning those two tournaments. He won the last 2v2 ice tournament before it disbanded. So he knows what it's like to have experience in these tournaments. We know how good Shallow and Cans are, and Joe as well, playing very strongly with Shallow. Jacko, how do you think this one's going to go?
Yeah, of course, me and you were playing in these, but these four were obviously in another bracket, so we never got to experience how good they are working together. We know Shallow, of course, household name. He's playing alongside Joe, and Viable, of course, he's been making quite a name for himself recently, and of course, Cans, looking to add another role to his many already in the All Ireland server. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think when it comes, of course, the dynamic of Shallow and Joe, I think Shallow is obviously that much better than Joe, but Joe still plays a really solid role. Or I think Cans and Viable might be able to interplay a lot more. But I suppose it all depends on how each team can link up, and of course, it is a best of seven as well. For the €45 prize pool, so it's going to be interesting.
It'll be interesting indeed. And of course, as you said, we didn't get to see these at all. This is our first time seeing these today. We were in the other group where sadly neither of us exactly made it out. That's a story for another time. But players are almost ready. We're just waiting on one to ready up and then we'll gotta go. Again, if you haven't voted already in the Twitch chat, spend those channel points right now. You can see the link in the chat there. And yeah, honestly, it's a bit exciting. It's a day event. It's all about how you play on the day. This isn't one of those tournaments that go over several weeks. It's all about how well you play on the day. We've now lost Joe. What a start to the finals.
Yeah, I'm trying to get everybody in, and just as soon as we've got one person back, of course, we've got Joe go and get himself a cup of tea just before everything starts. And at this point, it seems that we pretty much sure have everybody in. It's only four players, of course. Surprisingly, it seems to be hard to get four players, and then it's six. But here we go. Here we go now. We've got the game going. We've got Shallow. We've got Joe, and Shallow's gone. There we go. Shallow is gone. I have 60 ping, and he's out the door. So yeah, these are what, of course, the technical difficulties that, of course, happens. So Ejam, we have to once again wait for this game to start, which, of course, we saw earlier in the day. Of course, we had quite a few technical difficulties with the tournament in itself, and I suppose this is just kind of the ideal end to the stream. But of course, it's going to be an interesting game, I think. Mostly from the point of view that obviously we've seen a lot of subs, and the fact that Cans and Shallow are both players that were subbed in. We've got Joe and we've got Viable playing with their non-original teammates. So it's interesting that they've made the final. So it's going to be interesting to see how they actually play together.
Yeah, obviously, you're expecting to be with one player, then you're with another. I'm sure if you are Viable or Joe, you wouldn't be upset to see Cans or Shallow come in as your teammates. But 60 ping and Shallow leaves. Jeez, this man has an ego, doesn't he? 60 ping is too high for him. I mean, honestly, Fireball and Cans suggesting that it should be an FF. We're not that harsh. We're not that harsh at all. Obviously, if you're used to playing with one ping and then it increases, it does make those difference. But Shallow has now just DC'd altogether. So we might have to take a little technical break because I'm running out of things to say, Jacko. But I'm sure at this stage, these things do happen, and it's better that they're happening now before game one than if they happen during the grand finals. But maybe we'll use this opportunity to say how they made it to this stage. So they finished first and second in their side of the bracket, made it through the semi-finals, or the quarterfinals, if you want to call it. It's a bit weird the way you have six teams qualifying through, but one of them was straight into the semis. One of them had to just play that extra match. But we are finally joining the lobby yet again, and knowing our luck, we're probably going to get black screen here. No, we're loading into Manfield. Shallow's in the game, Joe's in the game, Viable's in the game, Cans is in the game. Here we go. Best of 7. Winner takes home that €45 prize pool. Let's see how we get on. No crazy kickoff strategies. It's a 2v2. We normally see a lot more goals than we do in those 3v3 scenarios. That little bit more boost you have to work with, that little bit more space on the pitch. I'm not sure about you, Jacko. You had this as your teammate, two evenly matched teammates. I had a teammate a lot higher level than me, so I saw it was a case of me sitting back and defending and letting him do all the work. But Bible and Joe, they're two great players, obviously with Shallow and Cans. I think we're going to see a lot more passing plays and team plays rather than just seeing Cans or Shallow trying to pop off.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that, I think, earlier. I think it's the whole team dynamic that we have. We've got Shallow, obviously, he's a lot bigger of a skill gap between him and Joe as you have between Cans and Viable. But it's interesting to see how both teams have made this final. They're both two different teams, both of very different play styles, both different skill gaps, and, they're both here. So whatever they're doing is working perfectly fine, and they've made themselves all the way here to the final. So it's going to be interesting to see, I suppose, at the end of the day here, which team does come out on top. Is it going to be the Shallow Joe dynamic, or is it going to be the Cans and Viable dynamic?
It's hard to tell, to be honest. They're both great players in the rights. I think one thing that's incredibly underrated here that people may be unaware of if you are new enough to the server, but Shallow is an absolutely outstanding defensive player. But Viable with a shot comes down off the crossbar, touch off Shallow, gets it out to safety. Viable now looking for a little counter attack. Cans beat Shallow to it. It's 50, but now Joe with an opportunity. Shallow's trying to bump Viable out of it. Viable, that's a dangerous spot to put it. Shallow unable to get the shot on target. Surprisingly, no goals yet. Both teams trying to figure each other out, but of course they have that experience from playing with each other already today. I'm just going to ask our producer Dlynch to try find out who won that best of 3 earlier in the day, if you wouldn't mind, just so we know who won this matchup already. Best of 7, a lot longer than a best of 3. Viable gets another save, and it's Joe and Shallow right now, Jacko, that are enjoying the possession.
Yeah, absolutely. They seem to be playing quite well, and I think even when it comes to the dynamic of players, we've got Shallow, of course, who's been consistently high SSL and 2s, and just looking at ranks, Viable is sitting at about 1500 in 2v2. We know Cans, we know him quite well, and especially Joe, sitting about maybe C2, C3. It's going to be really interesting to see, how they do combine, but as you said here, the first goal does go in, and there we go. That is the goal for Shallow himself. Gets the first goal on the board. Seems to be a big push here by Joe. Viable unable to make contact with that one, but well played there by Joe and Shallow. Joe just hitting it off the left wall and Shallow slipping it in, and there we go, Ejam. We got the first goal on the board, and it's gone to Shallow and Joe.
Yeah, Viable, I'm not sure why they had to go up the wall there. Maybe just thinking that a demo was coming through, and Joe was all over his Shallow there as well. I think there was a little bit of miscommunication, but Shallow able to clear this out. Nice and composed. Kansas is waiting for it. Shallow though, missing the ball, gets himself in a good recovery position. Now Joe with a boomer, knocks it to the right. Viable missing though, Can seems to be careful not to own goal. Turns well, and now one-on-one situation, gets it on top of the car, looks for the flip, it goes in so slowly, but Cans gets it in the end. Great composure to tie up the game.
Yeah, cool, calm and collective there by lovely Cans. Beautiful shot by him, just to hit it behind. Joe going for the demo, and Shallow just trying to get that pre-jump. That's very well placed by Cans, just to take his time and realise that he can slip it into that right corner. Very well played by Cans, and it's a great goal to answer back with.
Yeah, and again, kickoff going in the way. Viable actually almost had a shot opportunity here, but Jacko, just in that Ice 2v2 tournament that was not too long ago, you played against Viable. Do you think he's improved since then, or in the series that he did beat you, what was it about his playstyle that allowed him to get that far into the finals? What is there to watch out for Viable here now today?
I think Viable's improved, drastically, even just from watching him in terms of 6-man and stuff. I know that he used to be quite a big 2v2 player, and I know his 2's rank is considerably higher than his 3's rank, but he's quite mechanical. And here we go now, Cans sniping it in. Oh, what a save with Shallow. I almost thought that one was going in. But Viable is quite mechanical. He plays it really well with people. He's quite easy to play with, I found, even in terms of kind of 6-mans and stuff like that. But his mechanics is quite good, and especially for the level that he's at. That's why he was able to do quite well in 2v2, and that's why he's probably working so well with Cans, another quite a good player. But so far there, we saw another chance for Cans and Viable, who seem to be doing quite well for themselves at the moment.
Yeah, they're doing quite well, and Cans, of course, always complaining about how he is shafted in these types of tournaments. But he is in the final today against a very difficult opposition. But now the double tap opportunity whiffs it, ends up hitting it out to the left. Shallow was in a horrible position if he was to try save that, driving straight into his net. So an opportunity missed there, maybe. Shallow gets to clear, but Can's in a position to shoot, but Shallow's so quick on defense. And Viable beating Joe now. Shallow, brilliant demo, open net there, and now all the demos are coming through. And Cans takes his time here, Joe can get that boost all he wants. Cans still gets that boost actually now. Opportunity against Shallow. Shallow, great 50, clears it out. And now Joe, it's awkward. I've been in these scenarios so many times today, Jacko. I'm not sure how your games went, where the ball and the 4 players would just be stuck in a stalemate in the corner. But with 20 seconds left, Joe can't find the goal there. Maybe looking to end the series in overtime. But now Viable, an opportunity. Shallow shadows it well, and now Shallow against Cans in a 1v1 scenario. You'd fancy Shallow here. Flip reset, great save, a viable up quickly to clear the danger. And with the clock ticking down, Jacko, looks like we're in a stalemate in regular time in this game one.
Yeah, absolutely. The game seems so close, you know, 1 goal apiece here, and first game going to overtime. It's looking like it's going to be a close series, but it's a big game now. Whoever wins this one, it's going to have a nice bit of momentum to go with it. We've got Viable on the ball, looking ahead of past mid here, but I think Can's playing especially quite well. Even Viable and Can's, their points differences would not be as big as we see Shallow's and Joe's. Shallow's on, what, 600 points, Joe is almost reaching 200, but we've got Can's about 530, Viable about 370. They're both playing quite well, both playing quite well each other, 3 shots apiece, you know, we've got 3 saves apiece, so the Cans and Viable dynamic, as we expected, are playing kind of similar. We've got Shallow doing a lot of the work here for the Shallow and Joe team, but as you said here, we're in overtime and it seems to be quite little to separate the teams at the moment.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the points, if you recall earlier in the game that we beat you in, that's the great thing about these solo standard tournaments. I was on 100 points while my teammate was 1,300 points, you know, so it really is just such a fair system the way this solo standard tournament works. Who plays better on the day, who links up better together. But as we approach the first minute in overtime here now, still nothing separating these sides, but Cans with an opportunity now, maybe good defense from Shallow, but Viable, ooh, bit of a double commit on the defense there, but they're not going to be punished. Joe now counter-attack, has Shallow too, just shadowing behind him. Joe looking to do it himself, can't exactly find the flick. And now they're starting to boost their Cans and Viable, but Shallow, bit of a heavy touch gets it away, and now Cans picking up the 100 boost up off the ceiling, getting the ceiling shot. Shallow yet again saving it, but now the boost starve game is starting to come into effect from both these sides. Cans need to be a little careful here, takes it away from Shallow. Now let's see what Cans can do here. Cans against Joe, Shallow's in the net, and as we're starting to see this game progress, Jacko, I'm starting to sort of notice that, oh no, Viable with the backflip. Oh, I'll save that point for later. Shallow winning that first game, an unlucky backflip there from Viable, maybe just getting a little too eager to have that speed jump, speed aerial to get up quickly, but punished by Shallow, and that's exactly what you can't be doing against this caliber of player. Shallow will punish you 10 times out of 10 there, and it's 1-0 Shallow and Joe.
Yeah, that was a really close save there by Cans, but, you know, as you said from the outstart, we want to see which team works better, you know, in terms of dynamic, and it seems that they were both quite level. Just an error there in terms of Viable, but just points-wise, you know, we have Shallow here, 700 points, you know, ahead of Joe, but even then, you know, he's not leaving Joe sit back. We see Joe getting stuck in quite a bit, and even Shallow himself, you know, he has 4 saves, he's back quite a bit himself. But, you know, Cans and Viable, you know, there's 90 points to separate them, 8 saves between them, you know, they're working quite well together. Just that error in the end there by Viable, and as you said, Shallow, when you're playing at these higher ranks like he is, you got to capitalize on all those misses, and that's what he did. And there we go, we are into game 2, moving into game 2 now, and it's going to be Shallow and Joe with a 1-game advantage. But even though Ejam after that game, I can still say that it's quite close as long as they minimize their mistakes.
Yeah, exactly, I agree with you there, and honestly, it's gonna have to be something special if you are to take out Shallow in defense. You know, something that I started to do was I started to try demo the better player in my 2s matchups earlier. It's obviously possible here for maybe send Joe after Shallow to try get Joe, or I'm melting here, get Viable after Shallow to give Cans the one-on-one matchup, but Cans can just do that himself and give his team a nice early lead here. And we saw in that first game, it was a bit of a low-scoring game. You know, 1 goal. I wouldn't be surprised if the scoreline is going to be 1-0 for the next 2 or 3 minutes, just based off that last game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, before overtime we only saw 1 goal apiece, and here we have in the first 5 seconds we have Cans capitalizing on a kickoff. You know, we saw Joe there on the wall was unable to get back to it, but you know, when it comes to, like as you said, a player like Shallow and struggling, you know, to beat him on defense, you're going to be able to take all those kickoff goals as much as you like. You need to be able to capitalize on all those scenarios, because in a one-on-one situation, not only is Shallow really high ranked in 2s, he's also really high ranked in 1s, and no discredit to Joe, but Joe can of course make his own amazing save, so each team here should try to capitalize on all of those easy attempts.
You have to play to your team's strengths here, and Cans, that's a bit of a ping, but Shallow, very good save. Cans maybe leaving it for Viable here. Shallow should be able to collect this, he does. Cans taking the boost away from Shallow, but Shallow picking up that boost there. We're noticing so much here, the boost game is so important. If you can just starve the opposition out, you can do so much for your team. And now Shallow getting bumped out of the way. Leaves Cans with 100 boost now against Joe. Shallow gets back quickly though, and oh no, is that an own goal? Oh my god, what happened there, Jacko? The ball ends up in the back of the net, and tragedy from Joe and Shallow there.
That is lovely IQ right there. What a play by Cans. He saw that Shallow was shadowing him on the left of him and just let him hit the ball forward. And all he had to do then was pinch it past Joe. An incredible piece of play there by Cans. He saw Shallow, took advantage of that situation, and that is just really well played. He's been playing really well so far in this series, and it's great to see, and hopefully he can keep that up, because with more plays like that, we could be going into a game 3 all level once again.
Yeah, and a lovely bump coming through from Shallow, but Joe unable to find the double tap. Shallow with another attempt here. Viable's able to reach it this time. And Viable now, little boost to play with, has to try and win the 50, which they do. Knocks the ball out to Cans, and that's good defense, getting the ball to safety, allows Viable to get that boost, get back. So important right now, especially when you have players like Shallow who loves to take the ball up in the air, and that almost ended up in the back of the net. But Joe faking out Cans here, maybe can't exactly find the flick he was hoping for. Big boomer of a clear. Shallow catches the ball, but actually Viable missing it there. Leaves him in a 1v1 with Cans. Demos Cans, gets on the other side of the ball and finds the back of the net. Lovely composure, 2-1.
Yeah, absolutely. Well played there by Shallow, and there's no doubt we're going to see more of those plays, and a beautiful shot by him with the backwards flicks. Very well played by Shallow, and it's a great demo just to open up that space for himself. Viable was unlucky to not get back in time for that, but here we go now. Shallow and Joe have answered back, and it's up to them now to maintain that momentum, and it might be another goal here for Shallow, and it is, and there we go. Shallow hits that one in and answers back straight away, and there we go, 2 goals back to back, and there we go, Ejam, they're all back.
Yeah, I was just looking at Viable's perspective there. He thought Shallow was going to take the shot the first time. Shallow recognised it, headed into the corner, sent Viable out of position and open net. Very good awareness there from Shallow altogether. And now Shallow, another opportunity, knocks it up, looking for a double tap, but Cans. Good backboard clear. Viable now with the opportunity to clear it out, but from 2-0 down, it's now 2-all. And me saying I thought it was going to be a low-scoring game, players here completely proving me wrong, and Viable needs to clear it out of danger. Shallow picking up that boost. Viable beats out Joe though, and now Cans and Viable maybe a little 2v1 opportunity. Good defense here now, and Joe out to Shallow. Opportunity here, slows himself down, lets the net open up, and lovely composure, recognising nobody's behind them there in time to get a demo, perhaps wipe the player out. And honestly, it's a good comeback display from Joe and Shallow here.
Yeah, it was a great pass by Shallow, just to see, it's a great pass by Joe, sorry, to see Shallow there, and all Shallow did was hit the ball up, and was all the time in the world just to hit that one right in here. As a rather interesting kickoff goes back into the corner of Shallow and Joe, but it was well played there by Shallow, and of course you said there, 3 goals back for them, they're back in it, and they're leading now.
They are, and with just over 2 minutes left in the game, you have to be hoping that Cans, the tilt merchant that he is, isn't going to absolutely melt. That could have ended dangerously, that 50, but the ball launched up high now. Cans decides to take it off Viable there, and now chance for everyone to maybe regroup with a little bit of boost. Shallow against Cans in the air, Shallow winning out. Viable, bit of a slow half flip there, but does get back in time, but not the best touch, and Cans going for demos on Joe, just I mean, I'd love to. I'm just watching Cans' perspective here. So, he didn't realise that Shallow was in a position to shoot. He thought it was only Joe that had the shot opportunity there. And just a little mistake, bad decision, and now they have to find 2 goals if they want to not go 2-0 down in this series.
There we go, that is the 4th goal back to back for Shallow. Yeah, he's doing so well for himself, and it's really working well with the whole dynamic. We saw Cans and Viable really take control of the offset from that first kickoff goal, going 2-0 up here, but it just shows how dominant Shallow can be. And 4 goals back to back. This might be one in for lovely Cans, and it is, and that's a great answer back in Ejam. We still have plenty of time in this game. We still have 1 minute and 30 seconds. There's nice speed there by Cans. Beats Joe, and it hits off the back of Joe's car for a pinch. 105 into the net, and there we go. Only 1 goal between them now, and 1:30 left, and they break the 4-goal streak.
Yeah, and it was a much needed goal as well. When they score 4 in a row, you have to shut down that momentum, have to sort of find a bit of momentum for yourselves. And Shallow though, looking to try make that lead back to 2, trying to win the 50 here. Didn't see Cans coming, perhaps could have dunked that in if Viable got the shot, but now Cans, nice little flick up, there is boost there for him, but unfortunately bounces over from Viable, hitting it back into the box. Good 50 actually, but another good 50 by Shallow again. 0 boost though. It'll be a difficult shot, fakes out in the end, but Viable able to clear, and now Viable against Joe in 1v1, but Shallow back so quickly yet again. Lovely clear from Joe. Allows Cans now to catch it. Joe another 50. Seeing so many 50-50s in the midfield, which is a dangerous game to be playing, because if you lose out on that 50, the ball could be flying towards your net and you could be left in a 2v1 scenario. Nice little ping there. Viable knocking it up. Maybe not the best decision. Only 5 boosts, but Can's able to bail his teammate out of trouble there. There's 2 players up here. Viable needs to act quickly, but brilliant defense from Shallow. And Cans needs to get back quickly, which he does. Trying to just knock it down field. Good collect from Shallow now. Cans trying to get that bump yet again. Nice little touch from Viable here, and you know, Cans, he needs to score here. He doesn't. Viable with another shot, and that ball is rolling away the opposite way that Cans and Viable needed to go, and it's going to take a miracle to try score from this position. I don't think Viable's going to be able to read this, but it bounces up. Cans flicks it up now. Never say never, but Shallow looking to kill it here. It actually bounces up again, and now Cans with the opportunity over the crossbar, but Viable, oh no, it just goes in from Cans, and I honestly thought that was lost when the ball was in the opposite corner, but just this touch here from Cans, I thought Viable was going to dunk it in. Joe tracking back, unable to get it, and we're all tied up, and we're into our second overtime of the series.
I'm just lost for words there. I was waiting for you to throw it over to me and to talk about the fact, you know, in terms of score and points, but it was a great play by Viable and Cans just to keep that up. It was a great shot by lovely Cans, and here we go now. It's Shallow. It's going to be short work of it, and there we go. And that's what happens. And there we go. We've got Shallow. We've got Viable going to be changing his car, not liking the G2 decal at the moment. And Ejam, there we go. That is game. That is game 2. And you know, even just looking at the scoreboard, because originally I was meant to talk about it. Obviously now I can't see it with Viable gone, but the dynamic has slightly shifted. We see Cans now taking really strong control. Viable had about 200 points here. Lovely Cans with 800 points to his name. Once again, we see the Shallow Joe dynamic. Joe playing really smart, getting the saves, getting the assists. But Shallow, 5 goals for him, big 800 point difference. But it's a really well played dynamic between Shallow and Joe. Cans and Viable, you know, going 2 goals up, 4 goals on the bounce, and then coming back, especially in that overtime. But we just saw how well Shallow can play and make short work of that overtime, and that's going to be game 2 to them. And we're going to go into game 3. Still time here for Cans and Viable, but the more games Shallow and Joe start winning, you know, the more confidence they're going to get in their ability as we do move into game 3.
Yeah, and honestly, every player is doing their part. It's just individual mistakes at the moment which are costing goals, but it's also individual excellence, like we saw Shallow in that overtime there. And as the players ready up into game 3, Cans and Viable need to start realizing that if they lose this, they're going to have to start the reverse sweep, which is never a fun thing to do.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And I'm going to be interested now to see what car Viable is in. It appears he's rocking a new esports decal on. He's rocking Interstellar. Very nice. Gotta respect that one. But you know, car change might be a nice change of mindset for him just to get his head back in the game. But as you said, yeah, if they win this, it's going to be a reverse sweep time for Cans and Viable. And as you said, nobody wants that kind of pressure in this game. Got Cans now trying to work to play Viable all the time in the world. Gets it in. Well played by Viable. It was unfortunate not to score off the first place, but just worked so well for where he was. Nice first touch, and also just to push his way through. Unlucky for Joe not to get that save out to the left corner, but very well played there by Viable. Already seems to be playing better already since the car change, but here we go now. Cans and Viable once again, as we saw in the last game, getting the first goal of the game, but hopefully now they can maintain the momentum and continue to score more.
Yeah, Shallow looking for the dunk. That was absolutely beautiful. I thought the play was gone here. Shallow goes for a boost. I thought maybe Viable not getting that one under boost in the corner meant he couldn't contest it in the air. Shallow recognising that, dunking it with a nice little double tap, and it just seems that every game we've had so far, Cans and Viable get the first goal, and then, you know, it's answered back almost immediately, but, you know, it's exactly what Shallow and Joe need. They need to keep it on the back foot, you know, they don't want Viable and Cans to settle into this game. They want to get them to that match point after game 3. They want to keep the pressure on them. They want to make this series as easy as possible for themselves, and right now, you know, they're just not looking as good as they can play. Viable needs to boom it out. He does. Finds Cans. That's a beautiful pass, but Shallow and Joe able to meet it in the end. And now a quick counter-attack opportunity. Actually, Bible missing the ball, gets demoed for his troubles, and now Cans against Joe, putting it just wide, unable to find the second. Shallow quick down, getting the boost here. Bible looking to maybe get an air drove solo play. Shallow meets it yet again, and honestly, when you have a defender like Shallow, it's so hard to break them down. Maybe we need to start seeing a few demos coming through. Maybe we need to see that space start to open up, but right now it's just not working out for them. As the slow gameplay coming through, you know, maybe the chaotic moments like that where the ball's in the corner, maybe that can be a way through for them. So many options, nothing's really working out, and Shallow, oh god, the treading the needle there between the defenders, unlucky not to score. The game is still even, and if you're viable in Cans right now, there's the demo I was talking about, opening up the space. You take out Shallow, you take out arguably the best defender in Ireland, and that's what happens. The goals opened up for you, and all Viable has to do is walk it in.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly what your point. You know, you mentioned earlier when you were playing, of course, alongside your teammate, that taking out, you know, the stronger player can have so much benefit to your team. And we haven't seen Cans and Viable, you know, do a lot of those physical Rocket League plays. And there we see it right away. We see Viable get the demo, and Cans, all he has to do is just walk that one right in. But you know, when it comes to a player like Shallow and his skill being so high in 2s and 1s, and here we go ahead and him slipping into another shot, you know, he's really good at avoiding those demos. So it's going to be quite hard to especially demo Shallow if he's not expecting, if you come from behind. But you know, you can put yourself as a way for, you know, to go for the demo, then they can really, you know, mess up your whole team dynamic and your team play. But Shallow answering back, and just to go back to his earlier goals, a beautiful read by him. The fake play now, Joe hitting it up to Shallow. On the wall. You see them playing, you know, trying some new skill here. Shallow might be able to get that one in. Unlucky on the flip reset attempt. Very close. But we see Joe and Shallow now, you know, kind of going for some nice fake kickoff plays, and they're trying to really work with the dynamic that they're doing.
Yeah, and you know, the confidence to pull off a fake kickoff in that scenario, as Cans, just off the crossbar there. Viable with the second attempt, crossbar and in. And that's exactly what we need to see from them. Viable and Cans, they worked so hard for the goals, but it just seems like Shallow's so good at capitalising on defensive mistakes, mainly from Viable so far this game. But Viable redeeming themselves here now, and honestly, you know, with Viable, they just need to be a little bit more careful when they're trying to clear the ball out from their defense with zero boost. Maybe just hit it into the corner away from Shallow, because that nearly goes in. Viable again, lovely save from Joe, but right now, Shallow's just scoring so many goals off defensive mistakes. You know, you need to make them work hard for those goals, and then maybe just try to tire out the players, because again, if they lose this game, they have to reverse sweep. And right now, Cans and Viable, can they hold on for 2 minutes? 2 minutes in Rocket League is a long time. Anyone will tell you that. And Shallow booming it downfield. Cans though able to deal with the danger. Now, shot opportunity, just hits it into the corner instead, maybe thinking that Viable was around there. And now Shallow against Viable. Viable missing out. Cans able to bail him out, but Shallow with the boost, maybe looking for a solo play here. Viable's up very quickly. Not a lot of boost to play with though. Zero boost, just has to try knock it forward. And Shallow with a good demo and the save. Lovely bit of work on the defense there. And now Cans trying to keep the ball up here, maybe trying to get that 2-goal cushion of safety, but it's very back and forth now at the moment. We haven't seen those chaotic moments where the ball's stuck in the corner. Both teams are moving the ball downfield well, but we haven't seen many passing plays, Jacko, I have to say. It's just been individual excellence or just capitalising on mistakes so far. Joe, nice little save off the backboard, keeping it out of danger. And now Shallow with the shot. I think it's just going wide here. Cans smart to leave it go, and maybe a counter-attack opportunity here, but Shallow passing it to Cans actually. Cans unable to reach it. And Joe with that demo and Viable allows Shallow maybe to, oh no, missing the flick, and now picking up the boost though, can get back. Joe, that's a bit of a dodgy touch, and Cans capitalising on that mistake. And with 33 seconds left, Jacko, it's looking like the series might go to 2-1, but sure, how many times have I been wrong today so far?
Yeah, we saw Shallow trying over the boost there in the mid, and Cans going up the side ball, then Shallow bumping him into the ball. It's a really good angle there by Cans. And as you said, you know, when it comes to, like, we're not seeing a lot of passes, we're seeing a lot of, you know, individual solo plays. And I suppose you kind of expect that from the dynamic of Shallow and Joe, but I was expecting to see a lot more passing plays between Viable and Joe. Obviously, we saw a play earlier where Can set it off the crossbar, and then Viable was there to finish it up, and there we go. Now Shallow answering back, and he's just a goal merchant, and there's a great here pass by Joe, but Viable was the one on the receiving end off the pass, and Shallow, there we go, hits it in, and as you said, 15 seconds left now. What a lovely Cans here. Lovely save, and we've got 15 seconds left. Ejam, this is really important for Cans and Viable to win this game, because as you said, if they don't, they're going into that reverse sweep territory. As the clock ticks down here, we're down to 5 seconds. Shallow on the ball here, goes for the flick, doesn't get it out. Save by Cans. Is Joe there? Big demo by Viable, and it's down, and then it's going to be a huge game for lovely Cans and Viable. They're not needing the reverse sweep now. They have a game. Shallow and Joe have 2, and if they can win this next game especially, we'll be all level once again.
And everyone's readying up quite quickly. They want to get straight back into the action, and you're right, the decals changed. The interstellar decal for Viable doing absolute bits at the moment as the players load into game 4. It is a best of 7, of course. Still plenty of time to try win that €45 prize pool. And yeah, it's looking like a lot tighter game. Viable seem to just fix his mentality in between that second and third game, and Joe and Shallow now, they have to work for it. They don't want to be giving momentum to Cans and Viable. They want to try shut down Viable in particular, especially after that lovely performance, picking up all 3 goals. But for now, it's, what's the way through? Do you think Shallow and Joe can just... Do they need to change anything, or was that just a case of Viable and Cans? They just have a really good game.
I think when it comes to Shallow and Joe especially, I think I saw Shallow play, almost better in that game than he did in previous games. He got a really nice, backboard read, and it appears Viable here is forgetting what net he's meant to be scoring and almost scoring into his own net. We've got Joe now one-on-one with Viable, gets the flip, gets the demo, no good there, but I think when it comes to Shallow and Joe, what they're doing, and I suppose you could argue for both teams what they've been doing all along, they should stick with it if they've made it to the finals. But now when you're playing against a team like Shallow and Joe, maybe Viable and Cans need to go for some passing plays or try and get some more demos, and maybe even Joe and Shallow need to start going for some passing plays, because lovely Cans and Viable are going to start going for some demos more. So it's a matter of analysing the game and seeing what works, but Viable and Cans are going to be really happy with how their last game went, and going to make sure to try and win this one too.
Yeah, stalemate so far. Every other game so far, it seems we had a kick-off goal, more or less, straight from the beginning. But now, as this series goes on longer and longer, these players will start to realise that, those risky, flashy plays, they might not be worth it in the long run. Hands opportunity to score here, actually puts it towards the back post. Maybe thought Joe was going to try dive across for the save, but now Viable with the opportunity. Shallow making that read, knocking it off the wall. Shallow against Cans, can't find the double touch. Cans needs to flick it high here, leaves it for Viable in the end. I don't think Joe or myself were expecting that nice little play there. Viable unable to read that, leaves Cans alone, but Cans knocks it up. Shallow gets the flip reset. Cans with the shot. Oh my, lovely shot placement into that upper left. Shallow could do nothing about it with 12 boost, and yeah, that was just a lovely shot placement.
Yeah, that was unlucky for Shallow, and definitely not happy with the fact that he could not get that out from the top left corner of that puzzle. Yeah, it was a great play, talking about the passing plays, and there we go on their first genuine attempt at a passing play. It was a really good shot here, and now we've got Joe. Oh, there's a nice fake there actually by Viable, but Shallow has respawned in the meantime. But that was a great play by Cans and Viable, and as I said, if they keep up with those kind of passing plays, it'll work really well for them. And once again here, they are the first team to score in this series, and hopefully, as they did in the last game, which they haven't done in previous series, maintain that momentum and go on to win it.
Yeah, as the ball's in, that bounced up the wall pretty fast. Worked out for Joe in the end. Shallow's up quick, slows the play down. Can's able to boom it out in the end, and now Joe looks incredibly awkward here, but manages to actually win out in the end. And Kansas needs to be quick here. Can't allow nice little fake, but allow Shallow to get that boost. Kansas needs to be careful not to use all his boost here. Somehow winning out on every 50. Unfortunately, his good run comes to an end, but what is happening? The game's really slowed down, but if you're viable in Kansas, that's exactly what you want. And Looks like they finally get it out here now. Shallow, open net, but not enough boost to really find that shot. Wrap the car around the ball. Cans, lovely second touch. Can he get the ground pin? She can't, and loses out on that 50. That's bouncing down awfully viable. Was caught napping there maybe, but just about does enough. And Cans with 20 boost needs to be careful. Viable collected in the end. Shallow now. Oh wait, what?
Oh my god, yeah. I mean,
That's
we were talking about demos, and we see Viable going for the big turnaround bump, and I'm not even sure how that managed to happen. I thought Viable was behind the ball there, but there we go. Viable gets pushed in front of the ball. Shallow bumps him into it, and that is an own goal that Cans and Viable are not going to be one bit happy about after maintaining that lead after scoring that first goal.
yeah, that was it happens, I suppose. It's the only way to put it. And now they're open there, and oh no, I think if you're Cans and Viable, I think your mental right now is in the gutter. 2 quick goals coming through for Shallow and Joe. A minute 20 left. We've seen Cans and Viable come back from bigger deficits to this, and honestly right now it's not looking too good for them. Maybe Viable could do with another decal change. It worked for him the first time, and oh Cans, what are you doing there? Viable able to clear it out in the end, and Joe looking for the bump on Cans, and that is Cans mental in the gutter. If there is someone who would feel tilted after that, it would be Cans. Lovely play coming through. And it wasn't the easiest shot from Shallow either, Jacko, but does find the back of the net. Good composure. So many times we see those balls smacking off the crossbar and going out into play. Cans and Viable, they've came back from 2 goals before. They have a minute to do it here, and if you remember, Jacko, the ball was in their corner on 0 seconds, and they somehow got it upfield to tie up the game. Now they did end up conceding after 10 seconds in that overtime the first time, but right now they have to make it work. They have to do something here, and honestly, Joe, right now all he has to do is just keep it here. Just keep the ball in the side of the pitch. Let the clock tick down, and Cans, you can't be taking little touches like that. You need to be booming it. But now here's an opportunity, looking for Fire perhaps in field. Lovely pass, well met by the defense in the end. 20 seconds and counting. Can they do it, Jacko?
Yes, must make the point about the mentality in the Cans and Viable camp, especially after that own goal, and just to have it capitalised straight after. The clock is ticking down, and Viable goes up the air. No contact with the ball. Might be another goal here for Shallow. No, it's not. And there you go, Ejam. That is going to be one of the most frustrating games probably of Cans and Viable's career. Nothing worse than having that goal, getting bumped in for the own goal, capitalised straight after the demo goal. And as you said, possibly a hard shot for Shallow, but with a player of his skill with an open net like that, you know, he was never going to miss that. And it's going to be a long road here now for Cans and Viable. We've got Joe and Shallow sitting on game 3, sitting on that match, sitting on that tournament point, looking at the money. But now it's time for Cans and Viable. The reverse game must begin. They need to win 2-3 games to come back into this Ejam. And it starts now.
Yeah, it starts right now. Shallow and Joe, they just have to win one, and that is the perfect start. Back to the original ways of scoring a goal early on in the series. But here's a fun fact for you, Jacko. The team that scores first usually loses when it's a goal this early on. So we'll just see how cursed that is. Viable not going for the decal change either. We'll see if that's going to mean anything ultimately in the end. But right now, if the scoreline was to stand, we're under 5 minutes away from the solo standard 2v2 champions, Joe and Shallow. Cans and Viable, they have to win 3 in a row. A difficult task, and if Viable's missing like that and leaving the net wide open, it's going to make it even more difficult. 2 quick goals, but still 4.5 minutes of play.
There we go. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that might be Joe's first goal of the series. Comes in the perfect time, and you know, as it comes to your stat, whoever scores first possibly loses. If Shallow and Joe can maintain scoring this amount of goals, they're looking at quite a high scoreline here for the end of the series. But It's up now to Cans and Viable, especially just to keep their head in the game. And as you said, they've come back from a 2-goal deficit before. It's only 2 goals right now, but Joe here looking for the pass in the middle. There is Shallow linking up, doing the passing play. Didn't need to do it all along. Doing it now just to prove they can play this way. And here we go, Ejam. There we go, 3rd goal. And that's another goal for Shallow, of course, who has been scoring goals all evening. And it's 3-0 now, and we have barely seen 50 seconds go on the clock.
Yeah, and Cans, okay, that's what you need. That's a good start. Maybe just getting that mentality back. It was a good little kick-off and Viable there. Cans beating Joe to it, or Joe whiffing, I should just say. If Cans missed that open net there, I think we could have called the game right there and then, but well-needed goal from this Cans and Viable side, and big kick-off win from Joe now, but just lands straight to Viable, and if they can get another goal back here, you know, the game will be blown wide open. Cans, big shot down. Lovely save from Shallow, and oh no, not like this. Feels bad, man.
Yep, there you go. Shallow once again, and in this game, getting his 3rd goal, and we've just seen him score so many goals. Joe looking to snipe that one, add another to his tally, which I'm afraid is nowhere near the sheer amount that is Shallow's, but it's 4-1, and with each goal it's just looking harder and harder for Cans and Viable, and Shallow and Joe are looking really good right now. It's just goal after goal, and this might be another for Shallow. Can he read that? No, he can't. Redirects it back out to Joe. Cans now on the ball, Viable not there. Will Shallow get the boost? Yes, he will. Gotta try and work some sort of play here. Gets hit off the ceiling, but Ejam, it's looking good for Shallow and Joe, but we can't count Cans Viable out just yet, and that might be a goal. Can Viable slot that one in? No, what a save by Shallow. Joe, there it is for Joe. Gets in another goal for him, his 2nd, and that was just so unfortunate there. What a hit by Shallow. The save, straight pass, and Joe almost hitting that one too far to the left. 5-1 to Shallow and Joe, and the mountain is getting higher for Cans and Viable.
It's a very large mountain at the moment. Similar enough to Everest, I'd say. They still have 3 minutes, but 4 goals against Shallow and Joe. Not the easiest thing. It could be 5 here, but Cans gets the save in the end, and honestly, it's just a good, strong performance from Shallow and Joe. Shallow probably woke up not thinking they'd be in this tournament because they forgot to sign up. Substituted in because Joe's teammate was a no-show. And if you were Joe in that scenario, seeing that Shallow is your teammate, you wouldn't be complaining. And honestly, at this stage of the game, if you're Viable and Cans, you need to make those risky plays. You're 4 goals down. You know, playing your standard game, it's not going to work. You need to try something different. You need to throw it all into the sink at this stage. You just need to give it absolutely everything. Look at this Viable looking for demos on Shallow. Shallow's dodging the demo, coming off the roof of the goal and saving it. Almost scoring as well, but a well-met 50 from Viable, and Cans another big 50. They're winning out on these 50s now, which is good for them. Cans unable to find Viable. Shallow's so quick out there, and again, where... Okay.
Unable to get the breezy shot in there, but as you were saying, you know, I know Shallow, you know, is coming in as a sub. He didn't wake up this morning expecting to be coming out of this with a nice 2v2 winner tag on his account. You know, of course, to go along with the Wild Rocket Series winner tag. So there we go. That is goal number 6, and there we go. There we go for Joe as well, getting his hat trick of this series. Cans unable to make contact with that one. Might be throwing in the towel already. But it's been such a great performance, you know, from Shallow and Joe. We thought we thought that Cans and Viable, you know, especially after that game that they did win, would be able to maybe bring it back a bit, and their dynamic is working so well throughout the whole series. You know, the games were close, but Shallow and Joe have just really peaked.
Yeah, they really have, and Shallow looking for one more. And at this stage, if you're Cans and Viable, you don't want to get Braziled. Oh, Cans looking to stop that from happening, but well met on the defense. And honestly, what a great ending to the day it would be if we do get a Brazil in game number 5. And such dominant performance, you have to say. It's looking very, very unlikely now. for Viable and Cans to win. They're just completely outclassed all over the pitch at the moment. They're still looking for the passing plays, almost finding the back of the net there. The defence were bumping each other, and Viable needs to be careful not to lose out here on the 50 to Shallow. Shallow with the boost though, maybe could have gone for a Doomsy, but Cans very quick out in defence. Actually has an open net opportunity to prevent the Brazil. And there we go. It's now the Barcelona on the table if we can end 8-2. 50 seconds, it can't happen, just for the memes, Jacko, but honestly, it's just Joe and Shallow, different breed right now.
Absolutely, they're a different breed, and you know, it's just proven, I suppose, that dynamic did work. And in a lot of my games earlier, playing against players, you know, we saw teams like Canusa and Dan. Canusa was such a dominant player, and you know, his teammate really helped him just alongside in terms of defensing and passing. And Viable now unable to make contact with that one. That's going to be unlucky for him. It's a great touch by Shallow, and you know, as I was saying, he's going to be adding to his repertoire. You know,
His
of course, you know, it's gonna be nice, another tag to his account, of course, along with, of course, as I mentioned, the Wild series, and it just proves, of course, of how good of a player that he actually is. And when it comes to tournaments like these, it's gonna be great, especially for Joe, get experience like this. But as the clock does a tick down here, Shallow gets that one in, crossbar and in, a beautiful shot by him. 6 seconds left, looking for the Barcelona here, possibly. Ejam gotta wait and see. Viable, unfortunately, not looking forward to seeing a scoreline of 8-2. But you know, when it comes to these games, you can go either way. But it's been well played by Joe and Shallow, and they deserve the win here at the end.
Ooh, yeah, and that is it. Your 2v2 champions, solo standard, Joe and Shallow. Congratulations to them. Commiserations to Cans and Viable. And, you know, Jacko, you know I love asking you this horrible question. Who is your player of the day?
I'm gonna go with Joe for my player of the day. Of course, I could obviously credit Shallow, of course. No doubt he's had an unreal series, maybe 15, 20 goals in this series. But I think Joe has played a really great role in just accompanying him in all of his plays, you know, especially in this game. He played especially well, but especially because I think Joe was the original member of this team. You know, as I said, Shallow was a sub, but of course, credit to Shallow as well. But I think Joe played really impressively, and you know, he was there for the saves, he was there for the plays. But you know, Cans and Viable played just so well together. But in the end, Ejam, you know, it just wasn't enough. Who would you say, you know, is your favorite player? I'm going to throw the question back to you.
Nah, it doesn't work that day, Jacko. It doesn't work that way. That's not allowed.
Oh,
But
yes.
it looks like we're not gonna get an interview, so we're just going to call it off here. Congratulations to our winners. Thank you everybody for participating today. Of course, it won't be the last solo standard tournament. They do come around every now and again, but
Of course not.
that is all. Thank you, Jacko, for joining me. Thank you, Dlynch, for streaming. Thank you,
And
everyone.
of course,
yet
big
again.
thanks to Bonkers, of course,
Bonkers.
and Lynch, of course. Lynch was helping out when Bonkers was playing, so of course, big thanks to Bonkers for running the whole tournament and getting everything sorted out when problems arose. So big credit to him, and as you mentioned, D Lynch as well, just for everything, and Ejam, of course, for joining in after getting smacked around at the tournaments. That was it's a great game. Congratulations, of course, to Joe and to Shallow, and we'll see you all in the next one.
And I love Finbar. Good night.